Next up, we're going to do a little bit of evergreen content for our friends at Keeneland, talking about the all-turf pick 3. This is a bet, JK, I know you're a huge fan of. Might have even had a little bit of something to, a little tiny bit of something to do in its creation, though that goes to Jim Goodman. Let's start with the most basic question of all. Why do you like this all-turf pick 3?
Well, I mean, in an age and a game in which we understand the challenges, we understand the necessity, we understand the challenges that the computer automated wagering teams present. They're more than welcome to come to the party. We love that they're at the party. My only thing is I wish that we were given some of the same access and tools they were, but that's neither here nor there. But what I will say is that when you have a higher wager minimum, higher minimum wager amount, it does allow us as the kind of retail player, the average player, to still find some value. It's harder for the computers to cover a lot of the combinations at that higher dollar amount based on the pool size. And so I do think it's a good wager if you have an opinion to try to lean on. If you love a horse in the turf race, and in a turf race that's in this sequence, I think you're probably better off playing this wager than maybe even playing the pick 6 or the pick 5. If you're going to play one, I think that you have opportunity with this $3 minimum, and I think that makes it a lot harder for the computers to take the meat off the bone, as like we like to call it. And I just think that it's a great opportunity.
I think another part of it, which is kind of interesting, is that higher minimum maybe forces players to make decisions that are just going to give them more efficient ticket combinations that are going to help them whether they like it or not. Maybe you want to, in the sense that if there's a ticket where you have to spread too much, maybe you just don't play it, or you just keep grinding and you do the work to get the ticket down to the horses that you really want to play, as opposed to the ones you just don't want to get beat by or whatever. I found that my construction gets better with that $3 minimum. And in terms of construction, I'll spend, sometimes I'll play this bet on the cheap, but sometimes I'll play it more seriously, a little bit more along the lines of the mentality of a pick 5 or even a pick 6. And for me, the way that I will typically do it, I don't do necessarily always traditional A's, B's, and C's in that method, but I will play, I think of it almost more, and I think I'm stealing this idea from Tommy Massis, play it like a pyramid almost, where maybe my spreadiest ticket is a 3x3x3 that I'm spending $72 on. But then I'll go back typically and press just to make it easy. Let's say I have one press horse in each race, then play another 1x3x3. And then, maybe you do another one that's 3x1x3, and then 3x3x1, where if you have that one, for this simple example, that one horse that you really like in each race, you end up hitting it extra times if that one wins. And then, of course, ideally, all 3 keys win, and you've really got something. And, of course, you're not limited to making it a $3 pick 3. One thing I found myself doing a lot last weekend that helped me in my construction was, if you had a really strong favorite, play a $10 combination of it. So it came very chalky on Saturday, but, my key horse won each of the 3 legs, so I end up with a $30 all-turf pick 3 and end up being able to make decent money on the bet. Any thoughts from you about ticket construction, how you like to approach the all-turf pick 3?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I mean, I'm not looking to hit it for $3, right? I'm looking to kind of press it up and have a $20 ticket, ice cold, and then a $5 ticket with some other thoughts, and you could mix those things in a lot, and I think that's and you mentioned that it kind of accidentally forces you to be more efficient. But I think it forces everyone to be more efficient. We've all been there and hit a pick 5 or a pick 4 where it's been like logical, crazy, logical, and you're expecting it to be a nice payout because of the 40-1 shot, and it never comes. And the reason it doesn't come, and I have to explain to people often when they're frustrated about the payout, is say, that was an all leg. People hit the all button there. So there's a lot more people that caught that 40-1 shot that looked impossible because they hit the all button. you can't hit the all button really in a situation like this where you have a $3 minimum wager. And I think that can make for a more efficient pool. And when there's an efficient pool, not a more efficient pool, excuse me, it's almost like a more inefficient pool because people are having to kind of lean on things and not get as much coverage as they'd like.
It's a great bet, and that combination of things, being able to weigh your tickets, being able to bet multiple tickets, being able to change that dollar amount. I've just seen it pay, and I wish I should have, if I was really smart, I would have pulled up some fancy data on this, but it's one of the few bets, JK, that I feel like routinely pays more than I would have predicted it was, and puts a little bit of power back into the hands. Not that I'm calling you average, JK, but puts a little more power into the hands of the average player.
All good. I'll take it.
Good stuff there on the All Turf Pick 3, one of our favorite bets. Check it out on your ADW, usually in a separate drop-down menu. Another question, JK, that we frequently get asked when we're going to the racetrack is advice for new players. This is something I've done videos about with our friends at the Keeneland Select Team, and we've talked about at racetracks all over the country. But just advice for the person. And, people listening to this show don't need this advice so much as they might be giving this advice to the 18 people that ask them, well, what should I do around a big day at the track? What is your current answer to the question when a newbie asks you what they should be doing at the first day at the races?
Well, the first thing that I always respond to them with is, what's your goal? Right? So let's just talk in the terms of $100. Do you want to turn your 100 into 200? Do you want action in every race? Do you want to turn your 100 into 5,000? Do you want to break even and have and get home with all the money that you came with? What is your goal? Because I think what your goal is, there's the answer to that question. Right? I think if you want to have action in every race and have fun and you're okay losing your $100, a show parlay is a great way to get involved and be watching, learning, feeling, handicapping, exciting, all that stuff. Nice, easy way to do it. If you want to, I think rolling doubles is a great way to kind of learn the game, where you're playing doubles, just rolling doubles all the time. I think that's another way, that you can play, get involved, kind of have an idea of what got your $100, and so you do a $2 rolling double here, and maybe a $1 rolling double here, and a $4 rolling double here, and a $8 here, depending on what you got going on. And then I've also told people that, like, if you're that $5,000 guy and you don't care about your $100, then look at playing a pick 5 or something like that, and trying to get some coverage built around some stuff, and here you go. So I'm a big believer in someone comes to the race, we want it to be a positive experience, right? Which is one of the reasons why I'm an advocate, while I understand that some of the racetracks and some of the horsemen aren't, for fixed odds wagers. Not to replace the win pool, not to replace the exacta pool, but to give me other wagers like, will Steve Asmussen win more than 3 races plus 110? Yes, minus 125, no. And allow people to have a churny bet that gets them involved, where they're learning and they're seeing. So to me, that's the show parlay. That's the double, the rolling doubles. And so, like I said, I think the answer to that question lie in what is your goal. But there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat.
So much to unpack there. We'll start with the fixed odds idea. And I think, that prop idea, wow, that will be a great way to try to bring in some people familiar with sports betting rather than having them deal with the vagaries of the pari-mutuel system. So I agree with you on that. Another simple answer along those lines is contests. There's a lot of inexpensive contests that can give you a lot of action through the day for a very limited amount of money. Now, I don't know too many people who start their horse playing journeys playing an inexpensive contest online at a place like, our partner site, Horse Players or Horse Tourneys. But I think that's a very good idea, again, depending on what that goal is. And the show parlay, just for the uninitiated, that's the one I love because you can make it so communal too, where everybody throws in somewhere between $2 and $200, whatever bucks, and then you just take that amount, one, you can do it many different ways. It can be a team with a captain, one who nominates the one horse to show. It's also sometimes fun just to go around the horn and let people take shots in your various group and pick that one horse and just keep rolling that money through the day. Some of the most, nowhere near the most profitable, but some of the most fun days I've ever had is turning that show parlay into, probably the most I've ever gotten out of a show parlay is probably about 1,200 on a day. But boy, you go out drinking after with that crowd and it's just such a blast. There's something so fun and communal and cool about it. Rolling doubles, like Keeneland, is a track that has, every race from one to another playing doubles. And, you can spend what you want to spend basically and use whatever combinations you want to use. In terms of like telling a newbie an efficient strategy or somewhat efficient strategy with rolling doubles, what would you tell them, JK? Would you give them any, advice on, is a 2x3 better than a 4x2, or is it? I mean, I know to you as a sophisticated player, it's all race to race, but for the newer player, how would you suggest that they approach that?
Well, a lot of times what I'll do when I send friends, a show parlay idea is I'll send them like key horse, 3 logicals, key horse, 3 logicals, key horse, logicals. It doesn't have to be 3. It could be 2. It could be 1 logical.
Yep.
And the way that I always tell them to do it is when you start the rolling double, then you just use the single key horse.
Mm-hmm.
And then you play single key horse, to all 4 of the horses, right? The single and the logicals. And then on the other side of it, you come out of it with the single key horse and you do the same thing. So it's like it's like a 1x4, 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 but you don't skip any races. So there's still a level of efficiency there. Yeah. But at the same time, like and I'm sure that someone's 60-year-old mother upstairs going to hear their banging around on their computer screen in their basement after I say this. But like, efficiency is not an important conversation for new time horse players, new to the track players. That is not a conversation you have with them. That it's not. You want them to have fun, and then they'll come back and they can learn the efficiency of it. But if you try to convince someone that you should only be making EV plays, positive EV plays on a 10 race at Keeneland, they're going to probably lose, because that's the way a positive EV play is made, is that you're making smart wagers that in the long run you're going to be successful. You could bang someone up on the first time they're there and they're like, that was boring, I'm never coming back.
I definitely do not mind when I'm dealing with newer players advising, again, depending on that answer to the "what are you in this for" question, definitely don't mind giving them some favorites that are technically over bet so they can leave with money in their pockets. At the same time, that guy who wants to make 5,000 on his 100, JK, maybe him you have to approach a little bit differently.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's a situation where, I think well, for one, it's hard to teach someone in one day at the racetrack. We've talked about it before. I think you talk to them about the tip of the iceberg. You let them know that there is an entire huge mountain of ice under the surface. And if they want to get down there with scuba gear and investigate it, that's great. But if you try to take them down there at the racetrack, it's almost like it almost ruins the experience to a certain extent. I think you just let them know that it exists. You show them there, and then on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, you give them the crash course. But on Saturday, you shut up. You try to find something good to eat, a couple of good drinks, something to root for, and here we go.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good explanation of how we approach it when we've got newcomers to the track, which I know, Saratoga season, definitely you see a lot of that. And you see a ton of it at Keeneland, where you get a lot of first timers. And it's great. One of the things I love about Keeneland is how young that crowd can be. Last Friday afternoon, it was like such a double-edged sword. Right, on one hand, I'm frustrated that it's taking me so long to get in the track because, like a knucklehead, I left my press pass at home, so I can't do any of my wise guy stuff. But then I'm like looking around while waiting on this long queue, and it's like, it was like a college day or something. But it was still just so great to see all these young people lined up. But it's not just getting them there. We got to give them some strategies to have some fun, and that's really what it's all about at that level. And that doesn't mean that things like EV plays and takeout don't matter. They do, But when it comes to getting these people started on their journeys, those are some simple ways to accomplish it, I think. Any closing thoughts from you on this particular topic, JK?
No, I mean, I think you nailed it. I mean, it's separate conversations. Look, don't get me wrong. EV and efficiency and molding a winning horse player and understanding what it takes to be successful in the game long term and take out a huge conversation. But it's not the conversation for day one, right? Think about it like dating. When you go on a date, and a lot of these guys who like to complain about it probably haven't been on many dates. I can imagine that they're just, not on very many dates.
Just leave it there. I don't want to have to edit the video, JK.
Okay, I got it. So, but what I'm saying is like, treat it like a date. On your first date, you don't want to talk about. I don't think you want to talk about kids, politics, religion. Your weird bathroom habits. You just have fun on the first date. On the second date, we'll talk about all that other stuff.
The bathroom habits, that's a date 2 topic for you?
I can see one EV police person having a tough time in the restroom.
I don't know how we went so off the rails here, but I'm glad we did. JK, thank you so much, my friend. We'll have you back real soon.